Today I am participating in my very first hobby challenge. I'm going to go over and meet Luke from Geek Gaming and Josh from the Pickle Jar, and they've got something in store for me. I have got no idea what it is, so let's go and find out. I'm heading over the Pennines on this typically grey British summer day to go and meet up with the boys over in Wakefield. With a brief pit stop in Wakey, we're back in the car again and heading towards the location of today's challenge.
We'd all meet up and we thought we'd do something a bit fun. We thought we'd go and try and Warhammer for as cheap as possible. So I'm taking them to a shop that I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, which is Mirfieldeld Miniatures. Mirfieldeld Miniatures is a second-hand model shop. So we're going to try and spend as little as possible, but get as much as we can.
So should we set a limit on what we can spend?
Yes.
I think £50 sounds like a reasonable amount.
We could compare like how much we've saved compared to how much it costs to buy brand new.
Yeah,
that's
a good one.
Yeah. With the terms of the challenge set, we headed towards Mirfieldeld Miniatures, which is an absolute gem of a shop located in the town of Mirfield between Dewsbury and Huddersfield.
So here we are, stuck in traffic. It's a queue for Salvation Army.
Despite the traffic, we got there in one piece, and it was time to have a look around the shop. The shop itself is owned and run by Mark Milnes, who has a true passion for Warhammer and other toy soldiers. I was lucky enough to go and have a browse through the choice pieces that Mark has in his own personal collection, and all I can say is Mark is truly a man of impeccable taste. He has a fantastic collection of old metal miniatures, including some old Necrons, Zotes, Warhammer Fantasy miniatures, you name it, it is probably in this room somewhere. Mainly, the shop buys and sells second-hand and unwanted models at a super reasonable price, which is perfect for cultivating and growing a local community and for getting youngsters in on the Warhammer action without breaking the bank. The shop also has some well kitted out gaming boards, which again is an amazing way of building a local community by providing gaming space for people who might otherwise not have anywhere to play. I'm going to go and have a look around the room. See you in a bit. Now, with a challenge at hand to buy as much Warhammer as we can with only £50, it's my turn first to go and have a look around the Aladdin's Cave of miniature wargaming. I have no idea what I'm going to be choosing at this point. There is so much stuff in this shop, like so much stuff to look at. This room is absolutely jam-packed full of miniatures, and everywhere you look there's something else to see. The miniatures here are in various states, from partially built all the way up to fully painted and based. With so much variety and so much choice, it is so difficult to know what I'm going to spend my £50 on. That is, until something caught my eye. I've chosen. I know what I'm going with. Stay tuned and we'll go and find out what I've got. Happy with my selection and hiding my little stash from the boys, it's now Josh's turn to go and have a look around the room. It wasn't long before Josh came back out with a modest selection just like mine, and finally it was the turn of Luke. And let's just say he was in there a little while. And when he finally came out, there is absolutely no way that he spent just £50 on this massive lot. Cheating wanker. So we've all picked our armies, so we're going to go home and we're going to have a grand reveal and see what everybody's bought. See you in a bit. With our haul safely stashed away, we headed back down the road towards Wakefield and back to Luke's house, where we all had a good chat and had a look through what we'd bought. So let's find out what I know you're all dying to know. What did I end up picking up? I've picked myself up a fledgling Tau army. I know the Tau get loads of hate because they're not grimdark enough, or because they're the space communists, or because they're just space marine punching bags, but I'm actually a big fan of the Tau. I like the big mecha looking suits, and I like their more positive and progressive perspective on the universe. And they're actually an army I've fancied starting for a long time. In my little haul, I've ended up with 20 Fire Warriors, 6 Crisis Suits, a Devilfish, a Metal Tau Ethereal, an all-fine cast Commander Shadow Sun, and a Crutox Rider just for good measure. Not too shabby. Now for this little lot, I did go slightly over my £50 budget, and my total of this army came to £67 if I priced all the pieces up individually. However, as Mark at Mirfieldeld Miniatures is such a lovely guy, he rounded it down to a flat £60 for me because I was buying so many bits and pieces. I'm still over my £50 challenge budget, but in the heat of the moment I did get a bit carried away with my spending, but I think my extra couple of purchases were well worth it. Putting all this into perspective, at Games Workshop prices, this would have cost me roughly £180, adjusting a little bit for some bits that are out of production or not available in sets anymore. So for the price of one start collecting box set, I've picked up an amazing haul and the perfect start to my Tau army. So now that I've got my models home, I'm about to start on a brand new Tau project. Let's have a little chat about second-hand miniatures. Now, most of the miniatures I bought are actually in pretty good condition and have been assembled to a reasonable standard. In particular, the Devilfish and the Crisis Suits are looking okay. There are a few sprue joints that are still attached to the models that need removing, which would have been much easier task if they weren't already assembled, but in all honesty, it's not been too difficult to clean these up. A little bit of work with a scalpel and mold line remover and they're gone in no time at all. For people who actually hate building miniatures, unlike me, pre-built minis really are a blessing and remove most of the stress of putting minis together. There are a couple, however, amongst this lot that have really seen better days. I'm not sure who was drunk, this Tau Warrior who's got his pauldron on the wrong shoulder and looks like he's falling over, or the person who glued him together. But either way, he's not looking in a good way. Despite me doing everything I can to save him, there's only so much I can do without causing irreparable damage. He's just going to have to stand out compared to the rest of my Fire Warriors. One other downside is that some of the models aren't kitted out as I would have potentially liked them to be, in particular the Crisis Suits. Now, this doesn't necessarily bother me too much, as I'm not a competitive player that relies on models being equipped with exact weapon loadouts, but if I were, this could be a problem. Either way, by buying secondhand models, you are sometimes at the whim of whoever's glued them together, so you might need to spend a bit more time preparing and repairing them than you would with models that are still on the sprue. And on the subject of repairs, I noticed that one of my Crisis Suits was missing some parts. There are now a fair few companies out there that specialise in supplying individual parts from model kits. I've recently been in touch with a company called Atomic Bits, who were able to supply me with some of the extra parts I needed to complete my Crisis Suit. Happy days. So how about second-hand painted armies? Now, I could have picked up a fully painted army, which would have reduced the amount of work that I'd have to do to get these table ready. But they wouldn't have been my paint jobs, and as someone who's primarily hobbyist first and player second, it wouldn't have sat quite right with me. For that reason, I picked up a mostly unpainted army, and the small bits that were painted, I decided to strip back and start again with, such as my Commander Shadow Sun. A quick dip into my isopropyl alcohol and a quick brush with an old toothbrush, and she's almost back to new. Well, almost. Now, there were some absolutely gorgeously painted pieces at Mirfield, but I'd want my entire army to be cohesive in the same paint style, so for me this wasn't really a route I wanted to go down. Whilst I could have easily replicated the colours, I find it pretty difficult to replicate other people's painting style, so I wouldn't want certain pieces to stand out compared to others. There are some absolutely fantastic bargains out there if you're willing to do a bit of work with them. It might take a bit of cleaning, stripping and repainting to get them to a standard I'm happy with, but the huge cost saving really makes that bit of extra work worth it. I'm really happy with how my £60 Tau army has turned out despite the very quick paint jobs, and I can't wait to head back to Mirfield to pick up some more bits to add to it soon. So who do you think won the £50 challenge? I don't want to give any spoilers about Josh and Luke's videos, so make sure you go and give them a watch if you haven't already. You'll find the link down below, and make sure you comment which of us you think had the best bargain. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you go and click that like and subscribe button down below. If you want to support the channel and show me some love, then go and check out my Patreon program, or treat yourself to some new toys from Element Games using my affiliate link, which you'll find down in the description below. Any support I receive is reinvested back into the channel to help me keep bringing you videos like this one. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.